review covers the 1960 Ford Starliner. It's a 125 scale kit from AMT number 1055. The 1960 Ford Starliner is a classic car known for its sleek, fastback design and distinctive styling. It was part of the Ford Galaxy lineup and featured a unique hardtop body with thin roof pillars and a large panoramic rear window. It embodied the jet-age designs of the 60s. The Starliner was available with several engine options, including the high-performance 352 cubic inch V8. Issued at least a half a dozen times over the years, this classic bubble-top model is a skill level 2 kit for the intermediate builder and contains 149 parts, molded in white, clear red, and chrome. It includes numerous custom parts and 2 complete engines with intake options and pad-printed tires. The boxing was issued in 2017 that we use here, and originally it came out in the 1960s, and at some point was retooled from the original and re-released again in 2024 with retro box art and new decals. When you're done, it's about 8.5 inches long, 3 inches wide, and 2.5 inches high. Here are the parts in the kit. As you can see, they're in pretty good shape for an old kit that's been out a while, but the glass is a little thicker than the new kits, but it's still pretty clear. The chrome is just right, not too thick, too thin, and the parts have nice location points, so it's a pretty good design and mold that's been re-released once again. The parts are very clean and free of flash, and there's very few of the vestiges of the old molding techniques in it, so it's in pretty good shape. Here are the decals for the kit. You can see there's some nice stripes and kind of retro 60s customizing decals there. There's also some pinstriping and some inserts for the seats. Also a couple of decals for plates, etc. So the register is still pretty good for these, and it's a nice looking set of decals depending on the body color that you choose. As you see here, we're going to use the 352 V8 for our model kit construction, and that's where we begin. Note that the transmission is a steel color, and it's gloss black for the block, the heads, and the intake. So go ahead and assemble those, and then we'll add the parts to the engine. You see some of them trimmed out in gold, and of course the steel colored exhaust and the black parts, fan, etc. So here's a look at the completed engine. You can see that the gold color really sets off the engine against that jet black block, and you've got a flat black generator there. Also note around the oil fillers there's a decal, so don't forget the decal there, and then you can add a little bit of color and splash to it with some of these accessory parts. And also note that some other choices for the wheels are stock with hubcaps like this, or you've got 5-spoke mags that you can use. Now the tire choices are stock printed white walls and the wider modern tires with the sidewall detail, and both sets of tires are solid. Now according to the instruction sheet, you need to sand off about 1/16 of an inch from the backside of the outer wheel half before pushing the wheel halves into the tire when you're using the stock wheels. The rear wheels, they don't need any modifications, and as you'll note, I painted the steel portion of the wheel body color, and also remember you got to take and scrape off any plating or paint when you're trying to glue parts together, or they won't stick. And here's a look at the completed wheels. They're a pretty nice look and just about right for the 1960 Starliner. It's easy to detail the parts for the interior as the panels are separate, and as you can see, the chrome just jumps right out at you there. Those are small chrome appointments and also panels that are on the sidewalls, and a chrome pen or paint are just the ticket for that. Now also note that the Seats have inserts in them. Those are cloth inserts, so they're not going to be shiny. Those are painted flat black, and the surrounds there are a semi-gloss black. Also, the back seat there, same thing. There's inserts in those seats, and a package shelf that should be flat. Now also, you've got the inserts for the kit. They're blue, so if that matches, you could use those in your model as well. Then, of course, the dash panel has some chrome painted treatment to it, and the gauges weren't in the decals, so I found something online, printed those out, and applied those to the instrument panel. And here you see the assembled interior. It's a pretty nice look with the various shades of black, and the chrome make it pop. So go ahead and put that together. The chassis portion here, the engine bay, is painted black, and here is the frame, and it was painted black as well. The underside of the interior panel there, however, was painted body color for some, interest. Now the exhaust pipes were painted a steel color, and of course the mufflers get a kind of an aluminum treatment. You see the drive shaft there, it's a steel color as well. And the front end goes together very nicely. It's just a simple, mostly one piece, and that assembles up front into positive locations. Once you've got the exhaust in place, and then also you can then add the rear suspension, just glue the leaf springs into position, and you can install the motor on its mounts. Use some good strong glue there on those mounts, and while you're doing that, place the drive shaft into position, the engine at the back of the engine, and into the rear end there. So what's showing here is the gearbox and the two halves of the fuel tank. Now the fuel tank is assembled, and it's kind of wedged in there up onto the bottom of the floor pan, so to speak. And so the gearbox, you can see here, can be installed now. That goes into position there on the chassis and through the fender there. And then also the fuel tank will be added later, and we'll show you what that looks like right now, because that gets positioned against, that body color floor panel. So now it's time to locate your gluing points and scrape the paint off of those, and then we're going to add the frame to the chassis, and then once that's good and solid, you can add the interior along with firewall, etc., to the whole body chassis there, and put that into position again with some good strong glue and nice clean surfaces. So these parts are painted semi-gloss black for the most part. You got the radiator and the bracket and the surround there, along with the support that goes on it, and there's some decals on there, and even got some radiator hoses for this model. So finish off those parts, the battery, etc., and if you haven't already done it, the master cylinder as well. So here's a look at that completed engine bay, and it's a pretty nice representation for a 1960 model, although it was updated. And with the wheels in place like that, you've got yourself a rolling chassis. Now the body has some minimal parting lines. You see some of them marked out here, even across the back of the trunk, down the C-pillar and along the fender lines there on the upper ridges, and that goes across the front too, off the front A-pillar and cowling. You got to look for them. It's really small, and they're pretty minimal, so just some light sanding should take care of that. So after cleaning up the parting lines, you can go ahead and give it a light scuff, and then prime the body with a light primer. And then, as you see here, I first painted the top and sections there an off-white. Then I masked that off and painted the body with a metallic purple color, which is a pretty close match for the 60 Ford color. Also, the grill was blacked out with some black wash, and that's a 50-50 mix of thinner and paint, allowed to just seep into the recesses. And then once that dries, you can actually kind of clean off any of the highlighted chrome there to make it look very realistic, like a real grill section. And once that's done, we can also add some chrome highlights, including bare metal foil and chrome pen for any of the trim that needs to be highlighted. Once your highlighting is dry, you can go ahead and add the window glass into position. Use some clear glue or some white glue to put those into place, and just use enough glue to glue the edges so that she'll stay there. Glue that rear view mirror into place at the top of the windshield. Now we'll take a look at some of the chrome parts. They're very small, some of them, so I would advise you to not remove those until it's time to glue them into place. And remember, even though the contact points and little receivers, etc., are small, you've got to scrape off that glue if you expect it to stick. Here you see the hood, of course, was painted body color. It's got a badge and a decal in front, and also the hood hinges. Now, mind you, if you add the hood hinges to the hood, then the model will be only displayed with the hood up. Or you just leave it off and place the hood into position. Now here you see we've glued the front grille and the bumper into place, and also we've added the license plate there, the headlight lenses to the bezels, and the other items around the car, the door handles, the mirrors, even up front on the top of the fenders there's indicator lights there, and so you can go ahead and add those pieces of trim and even an antenna to make sure you get your latest tunes on the AM radio. Here's the rear bumper and the license plate brackets, and also the tail lights. And look at that bling. Between the front and rear bumper, you've got about 10 feet of heavy steel that's highly chrome plated, and she really stands out. With the tag added to the back end and the tail lights in place, you can go ahead and put that bumper and backlight into position. I guess it had to happen sooner or later, but I uncovered about the only negative thing that I found in this entire kit, and that was this gap between the body and the rear bumper. That back section being one piece, it just didn't allow for any adjustment there. So all in all, a really nice kit. Well, here are the parts that you'll have left over. There's a full set of wheels and tires for another day, and also a complete engine with different intake options that you can add to your parts stash. But I would keep the engine parts bagged together so that you've got a complete engine if you need one to put together. Well, there you have it. This kit's been around for a long time, but it has stood the test of time, and as a testament to that, they've just reissued it again recently in 24, and as you can see, it's a classic car with that big panoramic view rear window, the modified fins for the 1960 era, and plenty of bling to reflect the sun that just never seemed to stop back then before we had all those issues. Nonetheless, if you want a nice looking model, I'd buy one and put it on my shelf.
Thanks for joining us at Right On Replicas, where we're proud to bring you the best scale model kit reviews on the planet.
This review is brought to you in part by Ryder's Hobby Shops, where the fun begins. Stop in to one of Ryder's 2 convenient Michigan locations, where you'll find a full range of the latest hobby products, supplies, parts, tools, and paint. You'll find aisles and aisles of scale model kits, RC models, model rockets, Warhammer gaming, and railroading products. Stop in at Ryder's today and tell them Doug sent you.